I watched my sister's hand slip in slow motion. $3,000 of buttercream and fresh orchids hitting the marble floor. But that wasn't even the worst part of what my family did to me. Let me back up 6 months to when my mother tore up my medical records and screamed that I was letting my sister die. Before I tell you how my wedding turned into a crime scene and why my mother destroyed my medical history, if you've ever been the family ATM or the selfish one for having boundaries, stay with me. Hit subscribe if you want to see how this ends, because trust me, you won't believe what those 6 words from the doctor did. This story gets wild, and I promise you'll get answers by the end. My name is Maya, and I'm 32 years old. For most of my life, I believed something was fundamentally wrong with me, that I was too cold, too ambitious, too focused on things that didn't matter. My family made sure I knew it. My sister Amber is 29, 3 years younger, and she's always been the golden child. Not because she achieved more or worked harder, but because she fit the mold my mother created. The sensitive artist, the free spirit, the daughter who needed protecting. I was the other one, the capable one, the one who didn't need love because I didn't need help. My mother, Linda, is a textbook narcissist, though I didn't have that language until my late 20s when therapy finally gave me the words. My father, Richard? He's what therapists call an enabler. His favorite phrase is, keep the peace, which really means let your mother have her way, and maybe she won't make our lives hell. The pattern started early. I remember being 8 years old, bringing home a report card with straight A's. I was so proud, practically vibrating with excitement as I handed it to my mom. She glanced at it, set it on the counter, and said, "Why can't you be creative like Amber?" That same day, Amber had brought home a finger painting from 2nd grade. Mom framed it and hung it in the living room. My spelling bee trophy from that year? I found it shoved in a box in the basement 3 months later. When I was 12, I discovered that my grandmother had left equal college funds for both of us, $15,000 each. I only found out because I overheard my parents talking in the kitchen one night. Mom said, "Maya will get scholarships anyway, she's smart enough. Amber needs this more." They spent Amber's fund on art supplies and a trip to Europe for a teen summer program. Mine was invested for both girls' futures, which meant I never saw a penny of it. By 16, I was working part-time at Starbucks to save for a car. Amber got a brand new Honda Civic delivered on her 16th birthday because, according to Mom, she's too sensitive to handle the stress of a job. When I asked for help buying textbooks that year, Dad said, "You're so independent, you don't need us." The treatment was always different. Amber got breakfast in bed when she was feeling uninspired. My parents paid her phone bill, car insurance, and credit cards well into her 20s. Every boyfriend she brought home was wonderful. Every life choice celebrated as brave and authentic. Me, I was expected to have a job by 16. When I asked for help, I got, "You're so capable. Figure it out." My boyfriends were interrogated like criminals. My successes were minimized with comments like, "Must be luck," or my personal favorite, "You're so cold and calculating." The moment I realized I wasn't loved, truly understood it in my bones, was my mom's birthday dinner when I was 19. I'd saved $500 from my campus job and booked a reservation at her favorite restaurant. Amber showed up empty-handed with a hand-drawn birthday card. Mom's speech that night still echoes. "This card means more than any expensive meal. Amber knows what matters. It's not about money, it's about heart." I excused myself and cried in the restaurant bathroom. An older waitress noticed and followed me in. She put her hand on my shoulder and said something I've never forgotten. "Honey, some families see utility, not love. Don't spend your life earning what should be freely given." That was the shift. I stopped thinking, I need to try harder, and started thinking, I need to protect myself. But knowing it intellectually and feeling it are two different things. The unspoken rules in my family were clear. Amber's emotions were family emergencies. Mom's opinions were law. Dad's silence was complicity. And my needs, they were inconveniences. Let me give you specifics because I know this sounds dramatic. When I was 23, I graduated from college debt-free through a combination of scholarships and working multiple jobs. I got an entry-level position at a real estate firm. That same year, Amber dropped out of community college for the third time. My parents supported her fully: rent, food, spending money. The family narrative? Maya's always been the lucky one. When I was 26, I bought my first rental property with an FHA loan. I was working 60-hour weeks teaching myself real estate investment, learning everything I could. Amber was still living rent-free at home, selling maybe 3 paintings a year at local markets. My mother told relatives, "Maya only cares about money. Amber has a soul." By 29, I had a portfolio worth $1.2 million, with mortgages, of course, but still. I was finally earning $120,000 a year. Amber was still at home with an Etsy shop that made maybe $400 a month, while my parents subsidized her entire lifestyle. That's when my dad said it. "Why can't you help your sister buy a place? You have so much." I tried to prove myself worthy of their love so many times. At 24, I bought my mom a $1,000 spa package for Christmas. Amber gave her a handmade scarf. Mom wore that scarf every single day. The spa package was too extravagant and made her uncomfortable. That's when I realized my money was expected, but her effort was celebrated. At 27, I offered to teach Amber real estate basics, help her build an actual income. She told Mom I was trying to control her and make her boring. Mom told me, "Not everyone wants your stressful life." That's when I realized my success threatened their narrative that Amber needed protecting. At 30, I closed my biggest deal, a $300,000 commission. I invited my family to celebrate. They canceled day of because Amber's feeling down and we need to be here. I sat alone at the reserved restaurant table, scrolling through Facebook where Mom had posted a photo with the caption, "Cozy night with our creative daughter," with a heart emoji. That's when I realized I would never be enough, not because I wasn't trying hard enough, but because they needed me to fail to justify their excuses for Amber. The pain evolved over the years. From ages 8 to 22, it was just pain. Why don't they love me? What's wrong with me? Therapy eventually revealed nothing was wrong with me. Everything was wrong with the system. From 23 to 28, the pain turned into self-doubt. Maybe I was too focused on money, too cold, too independent. I overcompensated by giving more, achieving more, proving more. The result? Exhaustion and still no validation. But from 29 to 32, something shifted. The pain became quiet determination. I stopped asking for approval. I built a life deliberately separate from my family, and I met David. David is an architect, 28 years old, with the healthiest family I've ever encountered. They ask about my week. They celebrate my wins without jealousy. When they met my parents, just once, David told me privately, "I understand everything now." He never pressures me to reconcile. He supports my boundaries completely. His family treats me like a daughter, not an ATM. For the first time in my life, I understood what it felt like to be valued just for existing. I thought setting boundaries would be enough. I thought they'd eventually respect my life, even if they didn't understand it. Then Amber got sick, and my mother asked me to give her half my liver. That's when everything exploded. I was 30 when I realized I needed to protect myself seriously. Not just emotionally, but practically. I started therapy with Dr. Chen, and by session 47, we'd hit a breakthrough. "Maybe I should give them another chance," I said. "They're still my family." "What would another chance look like?" Dr. Chen asked. I started listing changes they'd need to make. respecting my boundaries, acknowledging my achievements, treating me and Amber equally. The list got longer and longer until Dr. Chen stopped me. "So you'd change everything about yourself for conditional acceptance?" she said quietly. I realized I'd been doing exactly that my entire life. Society screams that family is everything, but my experience was that family was a conditional transaction. The internal conflict was crushing. Am I the selfish one? I started setting boundaries. First, I announced that I needed 2 weeks' notice for visits. No more last-minute guilt trips. Mom's response: "You're so rigid. Amber just shows up and we love it." I held that boundary. It meant spending my first Christmas alone in 32 years. My parents didn't call. Amber posted family photos without me, captioned, "Perfect day with the family that matters," with a heart emoji. Then my dad asked for a $5,000 loan for Amber's emergency car repair. I said I'd pay the mechanic directly and to send me the invoice. "Why don't you trust us?" he asked. "Because 8 loans in 6 years were never repaid," I said. He hung up. Mom texted, "You've become so cold." The guilt spiral was real. Every day I questioned myself. Was I punishing them for the past? What if they really needed me? What kind of daughter puts conditions on love? David's perspective helped. "Babe," he said one night, "my family asks about your week, celebrates your wins, worries when you're sick. That's normal. What they do, that's abuse." "But they're not hitting me," I protested. "They're just disappointed." "Emotional manipulation is abuse," he said firmly. "You know this." I did know it intellectually, feeling it was different. But I was trying. When David and I got engaged at 31, I was excited, vulnerable even, when I called my parents. Mom's first question wasn't, "Are you happy?" It was, "Is he rich?" "He's an architect," I said. "He's stable and kind." She interrupted. "Amber's boyfriend is a musician. Much more interesting." Then Dad asked about the wedding date. "We're thinking fall next year. Small ceremony," I said. "Your sister might have a gallery show then," he said. "We'll see if we can make it." I hung up and cried in the bathroom. David found me and said, "Her first question should have been, 'Are you happy?'" To relatives, they said, "Maya's marrying some architect, very practical." About Amber, "Still looking for her soulmate. She's so romantic." I made 3 decisions then. First, geographic boundary. I stayed in my city, limiting visits to major holidays only. Second, information diet. I stopped sharing financial details or business success. Third, wedding planning exclusion. I told my parents we were handling everything ourselves. Mom's response? "I always dreamed of planning my daughter's wedding. Guess Amber will give me that." Amber was single with no prospects, but sure. Living with those boundaries was hard at first. At 24, I'd been in a 450-square-foot studio, working 60-hour weeks, eating ramen to save for my first property down payment. Meanwhile, Amber's Instagram showed brunch photos and gallery openings that my parents funded. The loneliness was crushing, especially at holidays, watching friends with supportive families. I kept wondering what was wrong with me, fighting the urge to call, apologize, submit. The low point came at 28. My birthday passed with no call from my parents. I checked Facebook and saw they were at Amber's art show with 8 people in attendance. I cried myself to sleep, then woke up and texted Dr. Chen, "I can't keep doing this." Or her response changed everything. "Then stop. Stop hoping they'll change. Start building your chosen family." That's when I met Patricia Nguyen. She was 52, a Vietnamese immigrant and self-made millionaire with 47 properties. She noticed my work ethic at the brokerage and took me to coffee. "You work like someone running from something," she said. I broke down and told her everything. She listened, then said, "Good, use that pain." build an empire they can't touch. Patricia taught me that financial independence equals true freedom. She showed me how to build a chosen family through business partnerships, how to separate self-worth from others' opinions, and strategic wealth building, not just income. At 26, I had an epiphany. I wasn't just good at real estate, I was gifted. I could understand property value intuitively, spot investment potential instantly. I loved renovating, creating value, helping renters find homes. But the deeper discovery was this. I wanted to help women escape toxic families. I started mentoring single mothers in real estate, creating financial literacy workshops. My pain had purpose. From 27 to 30, I built silently. By 27, I had 2 properties and was netting $30,000 a year in profit. I told my parents, work is fine. By 28, I had 4 properties and was earning $85,000. My parents didn't ask about work. At 29, I had 6 properties and my income hit $105,000. At Thanksgiving, Mom asked, "Still doing that real estate thing?" By 30, I had 8 properties and was earning $120,000 a year. I was featured in a local real estate magazine. My parents didn't read it. Amber sent the link with an eye-roll emoji. I kept my success secret for strategic and emotional reasons. It reduced jealousy-based attacks, prevented financial manipulation attempts, and protected the peace I was building. I wasn't seeking their validation anymore. Their pride would be performative anyway. They'd probably take credit somehow. I was done performing for them. Instead, I built a life. David and I met at a charity gala when I was 30. We were both volunteering. He was designing a pro bono expansion for a women's shelter. I was donating renovation services for resident apartments. We bonded over shared values, helping others, building up instead of tearing down. David was different. He asked about my day and actually listened. He celebrated my wins without jealousy. His family asked me about my business with genuine interest. His mom texted me, "So happy David found someone who matches his ambition." My best friend Sarah had been with me since college. She was my roommate from 18 to 22 and witnessed the family dysfunction firsthand. She remembered when my mom forgot my 21st birthday but threw Amber a surprise party. "Don't forget who they are," she'd remind me. By 31, I was hitting milestones my family knew nothing about. I earned $165,000 that year, when you included my investment profits. At Christmas dinner, when they asked about work, I said, "It was good this year." Mom said, "That's nice," then returned to discussing Amber's Etsy sales. I was featured in Forbes 30 Under 30 for our local market. The article highlighted my journey from poverty to prosperity through strategic real estate. My parents didn't see it. Amber texted, "Wow, you paid for that feature." I hadn't. My net worth hit $450,000 in liquid assets and equity. I could have paid cash for Amber's dream condo that cost $200,000. I never told my family that number. I kept it private because I'd learned success would become ammunition. They'd take credit. Their pride would be performative. And honestly, I was done seeking their validation. I achieved because I was capable, not to earn love. Those who couldn't celebrate me didn't deserve access to me. By 31 and 32, I'd become a force in my industry. I was in the top 3% of agents citywide out of 2,400 agents. My portfolio was worth $3.2 million with mortgages. I was consulting for 15 other investors, and my first-time investor workshop sold out 3 sessions in a row. I became the youngest voting member of the real estate board. The City Business Journal named me to their 40 Under 40 list. Local TV had me on monthly for real estate market segments. I guest lectured at the university on building wealth through property. I had real power now, the invisible kind. I could pre-approve investment deals before they hit the market, connect buyers and sellers in 48 hours, leverage relationships for better financing. I commanded respect in male-dominated investor circles. My network included high-net-worth investors like James Chen with his $8 million portfolio, developer Rebecca Martinez, who partnered with me on renovations, and David's father, who provided architectural services at cost. I had a bank VP who approved loans other agents couldn't get, a city council member who knew me from charity work, a real estate attorney who fast-tracked my closings. These people respected my professional competence, ethical business practices, reliability, and strategic thinking. None of them knew about my family dysfunction. I wasn't a victim in their eyes. I was a successful professional. At 31, I closed my biggest deal, an off-market strip mall for $580,000 that needed $120,000 in renovations. Current income was $42,000 a year, but post-renovation it would be $78,000. I needed 3 partners and bank financing and had to close in 30 days. Risky for my first commercial deal, but I assembled a partnership with Patricia and 2 other investors, secured financing through my banking relationship, managed the renovation with David's firm designing, and leased all units within 60 days. The result? Property value jumped to $920,000 post-renovation. My equity share was $85,000. My annual passive income from it was $19,500. My reputation as a proven commercial investor was cemented. I also started a mentorship program helping single mothers build wealth through real estate. I partnered with a women's shelter, taught an 8-week course for free, and helped 3 women buy their first properties. The local press covered it, the Women's Business Association recognized me, and speaking invitations increased. But the personal fulfillment was what mattered. I was giving others what my family never gave me. Then came wedding planning. David and I set our budget at $45,000, paying cash, no debt. I didn't ask my family for input or money. They were invited as guests only. I booked a waterfront estate venue for $8,000, hired a top photographer for $4,000, and ordered a custom cake from a celebrity baker for $3,000. It was 5 tiers of buttercream perfection with fresh orchid cascades and gold leaf detailing. 150 guests were invited, mostly David's family and our friends. Total control, 0 compromise. For the first time, a major life event centered on my joy, not performing for family approval. But the contrast between my 2 worlds was stark. Professionally, I was Maya Anderson, real estate investor and consultant, respected, sought after, influential, earning $165,000 a year with a net worth of $480,000. I spoke at conferences and taught others. At family dinners, I was still the cold one, who got lucky, still money-obsessed, still less interesting than Amber, still expected to help financially, but never celebrated. At Thanksgiving, when I was 31, I'd closed a $1.2 million commercial deal that week, been featured in a business journal, and given a keynote speech at a women's conference. At dinner, Dad said, "So Maya, still doing real estate?" "Yes, had a good year," I said. "That's nice," Mom said. "Amber, tell everyone about your new paintings." They spent 45 minutes discussing Amber's art. She'd made 3 sales totaling $800. 0 questions about my conference, my deal, or my recognition. At Christmas, I brought $200 wine and thoughtful gifts for everyone. Amber brought handmade ornaments and arrived late. Mom gushed, "These ornaments are priceless. Maya, your wine is lovely too." She set it aside and never opened it. Then came the final straw. Spring, 6 months before my wedding. Family brunch. Amber said, "I found my dream condo. $200,000, perfect for my studio." Mom turned to me. "You have so many properties. Why not gift her one?" "That's not how investment properties work," I said carefully. "They're leveraged." "You're worth almost $500,000, Dad said. You can afford it." I'd never told them that number. Had they snooped? Guessed? Demanded information from someone? "I worked 10 years for what I have," I said. "Amber can work too." Amber's eyes filled with tears. "You've always hated me." "Maya," Mom said sharply, "she's your sister. Family helps family." "I help by teaching her to fish," I said. "I'm not giving her the fish." I left early. Later, a group text arrived. "Disappointed in your selfishness." Amber posted on Instagram, "When family only loves you if you're useful," with a broken heart emoji. I blocked all of them for 48 hours just to breathe. I thought the condo fight was the worst it could get. Then, 6 weeks later, Amber collapsed at her gallery opening. The diagnosis was acute liver failure, and my mother decided I owed Amber half of mine. The call came from my father at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. I almost didn't answer. I'd been ignoring their texts since the condo fight. But something made me pick up. "Amber's in the hospital," Dad said without preamble. "Liver failure. It's bad, Maya, really bad." My stomach dropped. Whatever our history, I didn't want my sister to die. "What happened?" "They don't know yet. She collapsed at a gallery opening. They're running tests." His voice cracked. "Your mother wants you to come. Tonight." I threw on clothes and drove to Memorial Hospital, my mind racing. Liver failure at 29? How does that even happen? The ICU waiting room was fluorescent bright and sterile. Mom sat rigid in a plastic chair, her face pale. Dad paced. When they saw me, Mom's expression shifted from grief to something calculating that made my skin crawl. "Where is she?" I asked. "They're stabilizing her," Mom said. "Maya, sit down. We need to talk." I sat across from them, maintaining distance. "What do the doctors say?" "Acute liver failure," Dad said. "They think it might be autoimmune hepatitis, but they're still testing. She needs a transplant." My chest tightened. "How long does she have?" "Weeks, maybe months," Mom said flatly. "The transplant list is years long. She'll die waiting." She leaned forward. "Unless you help her." And there it was. I should have seen it coming. "You want me to get tested for donation?" "You're her sister," Mom said. "Her only sibling. You're the most likely match." I took a breath. "Let me think about it. This is major surgery." "Think about it." Mom's voice rose. "Your sister is dying and you need to think about it?" "It's a serious medical procedure," I said carefully. "I need to talk to David, understand the risks." "Of course you need to talk to David," Mom spat, "because God forbid you make a decision about your own family without checking with him first." "That's not fair," I started, but Dad interrupted. "Maya, please, just get tested. See if you're even a match. That's all we're asking." It wasn't all they were asking, but I was too tired to fight. "Fine, I'll get tested." The relief on their faces should have warmed me. Instead, I felt cold. The next morning, I went to the hospital for blood work. The coordinator explained that living liver donation involves removing about 60% of the donor's liver, which regenerates over several months. Risks included infection, bleeding, bile leakage, and in rare cases, death. "You should think carefully about this decision," she said. "Don't let anyone pressure you." I nodded, but I already felt the pressure crushing me from all sides. The test results came back in 3 days. I was a perfect match, the absolute best possible donor for Amber. When I called my parents with the news, Mom actually cried. The first real emotion I'd heard from her in years that wasn't anger or disappointment. "Thank God," she whispered. "Thank God." "I still need time to decide," I said. "I need to talk to my doctors, understand." "Decide?" Mom's voice went ice cold. "What is there to decide? You're a match. She's dying. You save her." "Mom, this is major surgery. I could have complications." "And she'll have death," Mom screamed. "Your sister will die, Maya. How can you be so selfish?" I hung up, hands shaking. David found me sitting on our couch, staring at nothing. "What did they say?" he asked gently. "I'm a perfect match." I looked at him. And my mother thinks I'm selfish for not immediately agreeing to major surgery. David sat beside me and took my hand. What do you want to do? That's what I loved about him. He didn't tell me what I should do. He asked what I wanted. I don't know, I whispered. If I don't do it and she dies, I'm the villain forever. If I do it, I'm just doing what's expected, and they'll never appreciate it. Those aren't the only considerations, David said. There are medical risks. The surgery, the recovery, your body, your choice. I know, but she's my sister. I closed my eyes. Despite everything, I don't want her to die. Then let's get all the information, he said. Talk to the transplant team, understand the risks fully, make an informed decision, not an emotional one. That's what I tried to do. I met with the transplant surgeon, Dr. Patel, who explained the procedure in detail. 8 to 10 hours of surgery, 6 to 8 weeks of recovery, potential complications that could affect me for life. The decision is entirely yours, he said. No one can force you to donate an organ. But they could, in their way. They absolutely could. I told my parents I needed 2 weeks to decide, to consult with my own doctors, to understand the implications for my health and my business. My mother showed up at my office 3 days later. I was between meetings when my assistant buzzed. Your mother is here. She says it's urgent. My stomach sank. Mom had never come to my office before. She barely acknowledged that I had a career. She walked in carrying a manila folder, her face set in grim determination. We need to talk. Mom, I'm working. Your sister is dying. She slammed the folder on my desk. And you're sitting here worried about your little real estate deals. I stood up, keeping my voice level. I told you I need time to make an informed decision. I don't care what you need. She opened the folder and started pulling out papers. Do you know what these are? Your medical records from childhood. Every immunization, every checkup, every test. I stared at the papers spread across my desk. Where did you get those? I kept copies, and I kept Amber's. She shoved more papers at me. Look at this. You were always healthy, never sick, never needed anything. Amber had pneumonia twice, ear infections constantly. You were the strong one. That's not... You can spare part of your liver, Mom said, her voice rising. It will grow back. You'll be fine. But Amber, she's fragile. She's always been fragile. And you've always been the one who survived everything. Mom, please listen. No, you listen. She grabbed the papers and started ripping them. Slowly, deliberately, shredding my medical history into confetti that scattered across my desk and floor. You don't need these anymore. You know why? Because the only medical history that matters now is that you're a perfect match and your sister is dying. I watched, frozen, as she destroyed document after document. Mom, stop! You're letting your sister die, she screamed. Do you understand that? She's 29 years old and she's dying, and you're sitting here in your fancy office worrying about yourself. I'm not worrying about myself, I shouted back. I'm trying to make a responsible medical decision. Responsible? She laughed bitterly. You want to talk about responsible? You've been responsible your whole life. Responsible for yourself. Never once for your family. Never once for the people who raised you, who gave you everything. You gave me nothing, I said quietly. The words came out before I could stop them. You gave Amber everything. You gave me criticism and expectations and comparisons. I built everything I have alone. Mom's face went purple. How dare you? We fed you, clothed you, put a roof over your head. The bare minimum legally required, I said, while Amber got her college fund spent on art supplies in Europe, while she got a car and I worked for mine, while you framed her paintings and shoved my trophies in the basement. Because she needed support and you didn't, Mom spat. You were always fine on your own. You never needed us. I needed you to love me. The words exploded out. I needed you to be proud of me, to see me, to care about me as a person and not just as a resource for Amber. For a moment, Mom looked almost shocked. Then her face hardened. This isn't about your feelings. This is about life and death. Your sister's life. And you're going to save her, or you're going to live with her death on your conscience forever. She left, slamming the door. I stood among the shredded papers, my hands shaking, wondering if she was right. If I was the selfish monster they'd always said I was. My assistant found me 20 minutes later, still standing there. Maya, your 3 o'clock is here. Should I? Cancel it, I said. Cancel everything today. That night, David found me in our home office staring at my laptop. Hey, he said softly, talk to me. She destroyed my medical records, I said numbly. Came to my office and ripped them up. Said the only thing that matters is saving Amber. David's jaw tightened. That's not okay. But is she right? I looked at him. Am I selfish for hesitating? If I can save Amber's life and I don't, am I a monster? You're not a monster for wanting time to make an informed decision about major surgery, he said firmly. And you're definitely not a monster for recognizing that this is a pattern, that they're using emotional manipulation to get what they want. But she's dying, I whispered. I know, and that's horrible. But Maya, you can't set yourself on fire to keep them warm. You've been doing that your whole life. I knew he was right. But knowing and feeling are different things. The pressure intensified over the next week. My father called daily, his voice thick with disappointment. I thought I raised you better than this, he said. I thought family meant something to you. It does, I said, but this is my body. And it's her life, he shouted. My quiet, peacekeeping father actually shouted. What kind of person weighs their comfort against someone's life? Amber called too from her hospital bed. Maya, her voice was weak. Please, I don't want to die. I'm scared. That call broke something in me. Whatever our history, she was still my little sister. Still the girl who'd shared a bedroom with me until I was 12. Still the person I'd protected from bullies in elementary school before our parents convinced her I was the enemy. I'm scared too, I admitted. Of the surgery? She asked. Of everything. Of what happens after. Of whether it will change anything between us. There was a long pause. I'll try to be better, she said quietly. I know I haven't always. I know things have been difficult, but if you do this, I promise I'll try. It was the first real conversation we'd had in years, and maybe I was stupid, but I wanted to believe her. Okay, I said. I'll do it. The relief in her voice almost made it worth it. Almost. When I told my parents my mother actually hugged me, the first time she'd hugged me in probably 5 years. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for not letting your sister die. Not thank you for your sacrifice. Not we're proud of your generosity. Just thank you for not letting her die. Like I'd been holding her life hostage all along. The surgery was scheduled for 2 weeks out, 2 weeks before my wedding, which would have to be postponed. When I told my mother, she looked almost relieved. It's for the best, she said. You can reschedule. Amber's health is more important. David's face when I told him about the postponement showed everything he was too kind to say. The pre-op appointments were intensive. More blood work, more consultations, more consent forms. Dr. Patel walked me through the procedure again, emphasizing the risks. You understand this is major surgery, he said. You'll be donating approximately 60% of your liver. Both organs will regenerate, but recovery takes months. You'll be out of work for at least 6 weeks, possibly longer. I understand, I said. And you're doing this of your own free will? No one is coercing you? I almost laughed. Define coercion. His expression sharpened. Ms. Anderson, if you're feeling pressured, I want to help my sister, I said firmly. Yes, my family has been insistent. but ultimately, I'm choosing to do this." Even as I said it, I wondered if it was true. 3 days before surgery, my family insisted on a family meeting to discuss logistics. I drove to my parents' house with David beside me for moral support. Amber was there, looking pale but determined. Mom and Dad sat on the couch like judges at a tribunal. "We need to talk about after the surgery," Mom began. "Your recovery, Amber's recovery, coordinating care." "The hospital has coordinators for that," I said. "Yes, but we need to discuss the reality," Dad said. "You'll both need help. Amber will obviously stay here with us. But Maya, you should probably stay here too, at least for the first few weeks." I stared at him. "I have a home with David." "David works all day," Mom said. "Who's going to take care of you?" "I'm an adult," I said slowly. "I can take care of myself, and David will be there." "You're going to be weak," Mom pressed, "in pain. You'll need family support." What she meant was, "We need to control your recovery to make sure you don't back out." "I'll be fine at home," I said firmly. Mom's lips thinned. "Of course. You're always fine. Never need anyone." The irony was suffocating. They needed me to literally give part of my body, but I was still somehow the selfish one. Amber spoke up then. "Maybe we should talk about the wedding." "We postponed it," I said. "That's handled." "I just think—" Amber hesitated. "Maybe you shouldn't reschedule right away. You'll need time to recover fully, and I'll need time to get back on my feet." "Maybe wait a year?" I felt David tense beside me. "A year?" I repeated. "Just to make sure we're both healthy," Amber said quickly. "I don't want you rushing into anything while you're still recovering." "How thoughtful," David said, his voice carefully neutral. "It is thoughtful," Mom said defensively. "Amber's thinking of Maya's health." Sure, that's definitely what this was about. The surgery was scheduled for Tuesday at 6 a.m. David and I arrived at the hospital at 5, me in my thin gown, him holding my hand. "You can still back out," he whispered. "Right up until they put you under." "I know." I squeezed his hand. "But I'm going to do this. I have to." My family arrived minutes before they wheeled me to pre-op. Mom kissed my forehead. Again, the first time in years. "Thank you for doing the right thing," she said. Not "thank you for your sacrifice." Not "we're proud of you." Just "thank you for doing the right thing." Like there had never been any other option. They took Amber back first, then me 30 minutes later. The last thing I remember was Dr. Patel's calm voice saying, "Count backwards from 10, and the world fading to black. I woke up in recovery to the worst pain I'd ever experienced. It felt like my entire torso was on fire. A nurse was adjusting my IV. "The surgery went well," she said gently. "Both procedures successful. Your sister is in recovery too." "How long?" I managed. 9 hours total. 4 for you, 5 for her. Your liver function looks good. We'll monitor you closely, but everything looks positive." David was allowed in 20 minutes later. His eyes were red. "Hey," he said softly, taking my hand. "You scared me." "Sorry," I whispered. "How's Amber?" "She's fine. Surgery went well." He hesitated. "Your parents are with her now." Of course they were. I was in the hospital for 5 days. Standard protocol for liver donation. The pain was manageable with medication, but the weakness was frightening. I couldn't sit up without help. Couldn't shower alone. Couldn't do anything but lie there and heal. David barely left my side. He slept in the uncomfortable chair, helped me to the bathroom, advocated with nurses when my pain meds ran late. My parents visited once, on day 3. They stayed for 20 minutes. "How are you feeling?" Dad asked. "Tired? Sore? But okay." I waited for something more. An acknowledgement. A thank you. Something. "Amber's doing great," Mom said. "Her numbers are improving every day. The doctors are thrilled." "That's good," I said. "She should be released in a few days," Dad added. "We'll take care of her at home." "That's good," I repeated. They left soon after. "No, we're proud of you. No, thank you for your sacrifice. Just updates about Amber's recovery and a vague feel better soon on their way out." Sarah visited that evening and found me crying. "What happened?" she asked, sitting carefully on the bed. "They visited for 20 minutes, I said. 20 minutes. Talked about Amber the whole time. Then left." Sarah's face hardened. "Of course they did." "I gave her part of my liver," I whispered, "and I still can't make them see me." "Because they don't want to see you," Sarah said gently. "They want to use you. There's a difference." I knew she was right, but it still hurt. I went home on day 6. David had prepared our bedroom with everything I'd need: medications organized, comfortable pillows, a schedule for my recovery. His mother came by with homemade soup. His father installed a handrail by our bathroom. My parents didn't call. Amber was released 2 days after me. I knew because Mom posted photos on Facebook. Home sweet home with our warrior girl. So grateful she's recovering beautifully. No mention of where that liver came from. 2 weeks into recovery, I was feeling stronger. Still tired, still sore, but functional. My incision was healing well. My labs looked good. I called my parents to check on Amber. "She's doing wonderfully," Mom gushed. "Honestly, it's like a miracle. Her color is back, her energy is returning. The doctors are amazed." "That's great," I said. "Can I talk to her?" "She's resting right now. I'll have her call you later." She didn't call. 3 weeks post-surgery, I got a text from Amber. "Thanks for the liver. Feeling much better." That was it. Like I'd loaned her a sweater. I should have known better. I should have learned by now that sacrifice doesn't equal love in my family. But some stupid, hopeful part of me thought this would be different. Thought that surely giving her literal life would make them see me. It didn't. Week 4, I was cleared to start working half days from home. My business partner had been covering my clients, but I was itching to get back. That's when Mom called about the wedding. "I know you want to reschedule," she said, "but Amber's still fragile. The stress of a wedding might be too much for her." "The wedding isn't about Amber," I said carefully. "I know, but she's in the wedding party, and she's not sure she can handle that stress yet. Maybe wait until fall?" It was March. Our original wedding date had been April. She wanted me to wait 7 months. "We're rescheduling for June," I said firmly. "We've already pushed it back 2 months." "Maya, that's only 3 months away. That's not enough recovery time." "For me or for Amber?" I asked. "For both of you. You just had major surgery. And my doctor cleared me for normal activities starting next month. A wedding in June is fine." Mom's voice went cold. "I think you're being selfish." There it was. The word they'd been saving. "I gave her my liver," I said quietly. "I put my life on hold, postponed my wedding, went through major surgery. What more do you want?" "I want you to consider your sister's health." I did consider it. I considered it so much I gave her part of my body. Now I'm going to live my life. I hung up. My hands were shaking. David found me sitting on the couch, staring at nothing. "What happened?" "They want me to postpone the wedding again, until fall, because it might stress Amber." His jaw tightened. "No." "No," I agreed. We sent the new invitations that week, June 15th, non-negotiable. My mother called it cruel timing. My father said I was prioritizing a party over family. Amber posted on Instagram, "When you sacrifice your health for family, but they can't sacrifice their timeline for you." I blocked her. The final pre-wedding meeting was at the venue. The cake tasting with the celebrity baker who designed our 5-tier masterpiece. $3,000 of buttercream perfection with fresh orchid cascades and gold leaf detailing. My mother insisted on coming. "I'm the mother of the bride," she said. "I should be involved." I should have said no. But some pathetic part of me still wanted her approval, even after everything. The tasting was beautiful. The baker had created sample flavors: vanilla bean with raspberry filling, chocolate with salted caramel, lemon with lavender cream. Each one was perfect. "This is incredible," David said, squeezing my hand. "It's excessive," Mom said. "$3,000 for cake?" "It's our wedding," I said evenly. "We can afford it." "I'm sure you can." Her tone was pointed. "You can afford everything." The baker, sensing tension, excused herself to check something in the kitchen. "What's that supposed to mean?" I asked. "Nothing." Mom examined the cake design sketches. "I just think it's interesting that you can drop $3,000 on cake, but couldn't give your sister a down payment on a condo." There it was, the real reason she'd come. "This again?" I said. "Mom, I gave her part of my liver. I literally gave her life. Can we please move past the condo?" "The condo would have changed her life," Mom said. "Given her independence, stability." "Things I built for myself," I interrupted. "Things she can build too." "Not everyone is like you, Maya. Not everyone is cold and calculating enough to put money before people." David stood up. "That's enough." Mom looked at him like she'd forgotten he was there. "Excuse me?" I said, "That's enough." His voice was steel. "Maya gave your daughter 60% of her liver. She postponed her wedding. She spent weeks in pain recovering. And you're sitting here criticizing her for not also buying Amber a condo? Do you hear yourself?" Mom's face flushed. "This doesn't concern you." "It concerns me because I'm going to be Maya's husband, and I won't let you treat her like this anymore." "How dare you? No, how dare you?" David's voice rose. "Do you have any idea what you've done to her? How you've made her feel worthless her entire life? She is brilliant, successful, generous, and kind, and you treat her like an ATM that occasionally disappoints you." Mom stood up. "I don't have to listen to this." "You're right, you don't. But Maya has been listening to it for 32 years, and it stops now." Mom grabbed her purse. "I'll see you at the wedding, if you still want me there after your fiancé's tantrum." She left. I sat frozen, the beautiful cake samples in front of me, trying not to cry. "I'm sorry," David said quietly. "I shouldn't have lost my temper." "Don't apologize." I looked at him. "Thank you for seeing me, for defending me." "Always," he said. The wedding day arrived, June 15th. Perfect weather, cloudless sky, waterfront venue sparkling in the sunshine. I was in the bridal suite with Sarah and my bridesmaids getting ready. My dress was perfect, fitted lace with a flowing skirt. My hair was up in soft curls. I looked like a bride. I felt like one too. My mother hadn't arrived yet. "Maybe she's not coming," Sarah said hopefully. "She'll come," I said. "She won't want people asking why the mother of the bride isn't here." She arrived an hour before the ceremony, Amber in tow. Amber looked healthy. Her color was back, her energy normal. The liver I'd given her was working perfectly. "You look beautiful," Amber said, and for a moment I saw my little sister, the one from before everything got complicated. "Thank you," I said. Mom adjusted my veil. "The venue is lovely, very you, efficient and expensive." I didn't take the bait. The ceremony was scheduled for 4 p.m. At 3:30, guests were arriving. At 3:45, the photographer was gathering people for pre-ceremony shots. At 3:50, I went to check on the reception space one last time. The cake was on display in the reception hall, 5 tiers of perfection on a special table with pin lighting. It was stunning. Amber was standing next to it. "Hey," I said, walking over. "Isn't it beautiful?" "It's excessive," she said, echoing Mom. "It's my wedding cake," I said lightly. "I'm allowed to be excessive." She turned to me, and something in her expression made me step back. "Do you know what it's like?" she said quietly. "To be the family disappointment? To watch your sister succeed at everything while you can't even keep yourself alive?" Amber. No, listen. Her voice rose. You have everything. The career, the money, the perfect fiancé with his perfect family. Even your sacrifice was perfect. The hero who saved her dying sister. Do you know how that feels? I didn't do it to be a hero, I said. I did it because you're my sister. You did it because it made you look good. She was nearly shouting now. Perfect Maya, so generous, so selfless. Well, you know what? You're not that perfect. People were starting to look over. The photographer, some early arriving guests. Amber, please, I said. Can we talk about this later? After your perfect wedding? Her laugh was bitter. The wedding you wouldn't postpone even though I'm still recovering. You're fully recovered, I said carefully. The doctors said. The doctors don't know what it's like. She stepped closer to the cake. This whole day is about you. Everything is always about you. Your success, your achievements, your wedding. Amber, step away from the cake, I said. She looked at the cake, then at me, and I saw the decision in her eyes a split second before she moved. Her hand shot out, and she shoved the table. Time slowed down. The 5-tier masterpiece tilted, teetered, and then fell. $3,000 of buttercream and fresh orchids and gold leaf hit the marble floor with a sickening crash. The reception hall went silent. Amber looked at the ruins, then at me. Oops, she said. I guess I slipped. She didn't slip. We both knew it. Everyone there knew it. I stared at the destroyed cake, at the orchids scattered across the marble, at the smeared buttercream and broken fondant. My $3,000 cake, the centerpiece of my reception, destroyed. My mother rushed over. Oh no, Amber, are you okay? Did you hurt yourself? I'm fine, Amber said, her voice small now. It was an accident. My hand slipped. Of course it was an accident, Mom said, shooting me a warning look. Maya, don't overreact. Don't overreact to my sister deliberately destroying my wedding cake. Sarah appeared at my elbow. Maya, you okay? I couldn't speak. I just stared at the ruins of my cake. We need to get another cake, Mom was saying. Quick, someone call a bakery. There isn't time, the wedding planner said, her voice tight. The ceremony starts in 10 minutes. David appeared then, having heard the commotion. He took one look at the destroyed cake, at Amber's fake innocent expression, at my mother defending her, and his face went dark. What happened? He asked, though his tone suggested he already knew. It was an accident, Mom said quickly. Amber's still not fully recovered. She lost her balance. She pushed it, I said quietly. Everyone turned to look at me. She pushed the table. On purpose. I saw her. Maya, Mom gasped. How can you accuse your sister? Because I was standing right here, I said, my voice getting stronger. I watched her do it. She looked at the cake, looked at me, and pushed it. It wasn't an accident. Amber's face crumpled. I didn't mean to. I got dizzy for a second and reached out. Stop lying, I said. The words hung in the air. Around us, guests were whispering. The photographer was still recording everything. Maya, Dad said, arriving with several other family members. Let's not make a scene. It was an accident. We'll figure something out. No, I said. The word came out firm and clear. No more excuses. No more protecting her. No more pretending her behavior is acceptable because she's sensitive or struggling or still recovering. She destroyed my wedding cake on purpose because she's jealous. Say it. For once, just say what she did. Mom's face went red. You're being ridiculous. It was an accident. I gave her my liver. The words exploded out of me. I went through major surgery, weeks of pain, postponed my wedding, gave her literal life, and she destroyed my cake because she's jealous that my wedding is happening at all. The reception hall was dead silent now, At least 30 people had gathered, watching the drama unfold. "How dare you?" Mom said, her voice shaking. "After we raised you, after everything we've done, what have you done?" I demanded. "Tell me, specifically, what have you done for me that you didn't do reluctantly or because you had no choice?" Mom's mouth opened and closed. "You spent Amber's college fund on art supplies and mine on her," I said. "You gave her a car and made me work for mine. You celebrated her participation and dismissed my achievements. You showed up for 20 minutes when I was recovering from donating my liver to her, then posted on Facebook about how brave she was." "Maya," Dad started. "And now," I continued, "on my wedding day, after I gave up my body to save her life, she destroyed my cake, and you're still defending her." Amber was crying now. "I didn't mean it. I'm sorry. "No, you're not," I said calmly. "You're sorry you got caught. You're sorry people saw, but you're not sorry you did it." Mom stepped between us. "That's enough. You're embarrassing the family." "I'm embarrassing the family?" I almost laughed. "Mom, she just destroyed my wedding cake in front of 50 guests. But sure, I'm the embarrassing one for pointing it out." "It was an accident," Mom insisted. "Then why did she say she pushed it?" Everyone looked at me. "What?" Dad asked. "Before she shoved the table, she told me I wasn't perfect, said I had everything and she had nothing, said this whole day was about me and she was tired of it." I looked at Amber. Tell them what you said right before you accidentally knocked over my cake." Amber's tears stopped. For just a second, I saw calculation in her eyes. Then the waterworks started again. "I don't remember saying anything like that. I was feeling dizzy. I reached out." "Stop lying," I shouted. Mom grabbed my arm. "Lower your voice. People are staring." "Good, let them stare. Let them see what this family really is." I pulled my arm away. "I'm done. Do you hear me? I'm done being the strong one, the cold one, the one who doesn't need anything. I'm done sacrificing and getting nothing in return. I'm done." "Maya, please," Dad said. "Let's talk about this after the wedding." "There's nothing to talk about." I looked at each of them. "You can stay for the ceremony if you want. You can leave if you want. I don't care anymore. But I'm getting married today, with or without a cake. And I'm starting my life with people who actually love me. And you're not part of that life anymore." Mom's face went white. "You don't mean that." "I do," I said quietly. "I really do." I turned and walked back to the bridal suite. Sarah followed, and so did David. "Are you okay?" David asked. "No," I said honestly, "but I will be." The wedding planner appeared, looking stressed. "We don't have time to get another cake. I called 3 bakeries." "It's fine," I said. "We'll do the ceremony without a cake cutting. It's just a tradition anyway." "Are you sure?" I looked at David. He nodded. "I'm sure," I said. "Let's get married." The ceremony was beautiful. I walked down the aisle to David, surrounded by people who actually loved me. My parents were there, sitting stiffly in the front row. Amber was in her bridesmaid's dress, eyes red from crying. But I didn't focus on them. I focused on David, on his parents beaming in the second row, on Sarah holding my bouquet, on Patricia in the third row giving me a proud smile. When the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," David kissed me like I was precious, like I mattered. The reception was perfect despite the missing cake. We explained what happened, smoothly without drama, and served the backup dessert the venue always prepared. Our first dance was magical. The speeches were heartfelt. My parents left early. They didn't say goodbye. Amber stayed until the end, but she didn't speak to me. She posted on Instagram later, "When your own sister accuses you of sabotage on her wedding day, family isn't always blood." I didn't block her this time. I just didn't look. Because here's what I finally understood. Nothing I did would ever be enough for them. I could give them my liver, my money, my time, my life, and they would still find me wanting because they didn't want me to succeed. They needed me to fail so they could justify their treatment of me. But I didn't fail. I built a life. I married a man who sees me. I surrounded myself with people who celebrate me instead of tolerating me. And that $3,000 cake, it was just buttercream and flour. What mattered was the marriage, not the wedding. Though I have to say, watching my mother's face when I told them they were no longer part of my life, that was worth every penny. 6 months later, I'm sitting in my home office, looking at my growing business, my healthy body, my happy marriage. Amber sends occasional texts that I don't answer. My parents sent a Christmas card that I threw away. I heard through relatives that Amber moved out of my parents' house, finally. Got a job at a coffee shop. She's doing okay, apparently. The liver I gave her is working perfectly. Sometimes I wonder if I did the right thing, cutting them off. If I was too harsh, too unforgiving. Then I remember my mother tearing up my medical records, screaming that I was letting my sister die. I remember my father calling me selfish for hesitating to undergo major surgery. I remember the 20-minute hospital visit, the dismissive texts, the destroyed cake, and the immediate defense of Amber. And I realize I didn't cut them off. I just stopped offering myself up for sacrifice. There's a difference. I gave Amber my liver because despite everything, I didn't want my sister to die. But I don't have to give her or my parents my peace, my joy, or access to my life. The doctor said 6 words after my surgery that changed everything. Not the words my mother wanted to hear when she collapsed in her chair weeks later during a follow-up appointment. Maya's liver has regenerated perfectly. My body had healed. My organ had grown back. But my need for their approval, that was gone forever. And honestly, I've never felt more whole